What's up, everybody? Joe Ringen here, coming to you today with another book review. And today we're gonna do the review of The Naked Sun by Isaac Asimov, Part 2 in his famous Robot series. My previous video was the first book in the series, The Caves of Steel, and so naturally it makes sense to jump right into the next one, which is the next book I read. So luckily, this was available at the library, and I picked it up and read it in like 3 days. It's a quick read, guys. It's a great read. And we're going to talk more about why I think it's a great read and why maybe some of you would disagree with that. But first, I want to let you know, besides reviewing and reading awesome sci-fi books and finding other YouTubers online that review other awesome sci-fi fantasy books, I wrote a book. I'm a writer. I wrote a book called The Ballad of Ages. It's available on Amazon. If you like fantasy that's fun and, this isn't a huge investment, it's a fun, quick read, pick it up. See if you like it. So let's jump into the book review. Because it's, more than writing, I think I like reading way more. So this book, again, from the last video, I'll just briefly touch on it. I love The Foundation by Isaac Asimov. One of my top favorite series of all time. I can honestly say that series changed my life when I read it. And watching the show recently too, and discovering that, hey, he's got a shared universe of books. Asimov might have been the first one to do that before the Marvel Universe thing. So this series, the Robot series, comes before, and there's characters or possibly characters that impact events in the Foundation. So of course I had to jump into the series because I love Foundation and I love Caves of Steel. And spoiler, I loved this book, Naked Sun. I think I just told you that a couple minutes ago. It's not really a spoiler. Come on, Joe, get your head in the game. All right, so The Naked Sun. What is it besides kind of a weird title? The title makes sense when you know what it's about and what happens. But so, all right, we it's another detective murder mystery story, just like The Caves of Steel. This time, though, Elijah Bailey, the main character, he gets shipped off to a colony planet called Solaria. Instead of investigating a murder on Earth, he now gets shipped off into space into another planet. So, at the beginning, he's kind of freaking out about that because he's going to be away from his family for a while. But Asimov, he doesn't spend a lot of time on character building and stuff, and so we quickly skip past that dilemma, and he's in space doing his murder mystery thing. And, I think that's great. Asimov, he as I'll talk about a little later too, his strength is not character work, and it's not character development. That's okay. He uses characters as vehicles to what's the big word? Pontificate, or talk about ideas, bring about ideas, and that's fine. I love that. And if I'm honest, as a writer, character work's not my strength either. But it works for Asimov, mostly. Mostly. So, all right, so he goes to space, and we learn a lot about this planet Solaria and the differences and the big challenges that Elijah Bailey faces as he's trying to investigate this murder. This book is less political than the previous one. There's not as much, politics interfering or causing the murder or the investigation. This is kind of like a straight up just murder mystery, which is really fun, but it's cased, or it's supplemented by being in space, and there's cool like sci-fi stuff and environments and ideas, and of course robots. So it's really great. Honestly, you can read this book in a day if you really wanted to. I went through it quick, 3 days. It was fast, but not like boring fast. Like I just want to be done with this. it was really enjoyable. I didn't want it to be over. And thankfully, there is another book in the series. And then, of course, more series is in the universe. But I'm getting off topic. All right, so this book, specifically The Naked Sun. So the big challenges that Elijah Bailey faces in Solaria, there's just different cultural norms there. So first of all, Earth in this time in the future, which again, as I wrote I keep saying that in my written review, that's just a weird phrase, at this time in the future, but I don't know how else to say it. So at the time in this book takes place, there you go. Earth is very overpopulated. And so people don't go outside. They live in these cave domes, hence the name The Caves of Steel of the previous book. And so Elijah and people don't go outside ever. So like that's one of the biggest challenges for Elijah is on Solaria, it's sparsely populated. There are very few people that live there, and they do that for a reason. They have actually like a weird breeding program or rules thing where like only a certain amount of people can be alive at a time. I won't go too into that, but it was interesting. So Elijah, he's like goes outside and it's like a big deal, and his body kind of gets harmed, not like deathly harmed, but it affects him definitely. Because you can imagine, you're whatever 40 some years old, you've never been outside and seen the sun in your whole life, and all of a sudden you're outside and doing things. There you go. That's why it's called The Naked Sun, by the way. And so yeah, it affects him, and so that's a big challenge for him. The biggest challenge, though, and this was the most interesting part of the book, in my opinion, was as he learns, people don't meet up or see each other in person. They don't spend time together physically in person. So what they do, this is very forward thinking. This book was published in 1956. So what they do is everyone lives like miles and miles apart. They have their huge, homes, land, plots of land, and they're very separated. They like to be separated. They don't want to come in contact with each other. Very secluded. But they, conduct business. They talk with people, but they all do it. They call it viewing, and it's like holographic meetups. So this is what's wild. So think about this. It's kind of like Teams meetings, right? So here we are in 2026, and only within the last couple of years, it's become very, very normal to conduct meetings virtually, or if any of the youngsters are watching this, to play video games online together, right? So it's just a huge change. So virtual meetups are very normal in today's society, and they are absolutely the rule on this planet, Solaria. People can meet up all the time. They just don't do it physically in person. But he takes a step further. It feels like you're in person. So it's somehow through some technology, your holographic presence gets sent to wherever you want it to. So it's like you're going to your friend's house. And so your holographic image goes there, and you can sort of see yourself there. Kind of like, when you do the AI thing with Amazon and you're buying a couch, and you can see what your couch looks like in your living room. That's like what this is, but you see yourself with the other person. And so you are like sitting next to them and hanging out and talking and stuff, but it's not actually you. It's just your what do you call it? Your holographic image sent together with people. Very forward thinking. Remember, this was written again in 1956. So yeah, people hate being physically with people, but they hang out all the time this way virtually. So very interesting in how we're nowadays kind of like that. Not to that extent, but kind of. We're getting there. Horrifying. Horrifying. People are, there's all sorts of phobias, and they don't like being with each other because of germs and stuff. So, hey, that's kind of like today too. But so where was I getting at with that? Right. So that's one of the big challenges for Elijah. He's not used to that. He thinks it's super weird, and he can't conduct his investigation that way. It's just not how he's used to doing it. He's used to being with people, and as he puts it, sort of sensing their reactions, and especially when he interrogates them, sort of feeling them out. And you can't really do that over, in the viewing, in the virtual meetup. And so eventually he's just like, the heck with this. And he just goes to people's houses and they freak out. They don't like it. They do not like it. But he's cool. He's just like, hey, I got to do this. Deal with it. And so there's some challenges and some interesting situations that arise because of that. I think that was the most fascinating part of this book. And then, of course, his robot partner, Daniil, goes along with him, and he's part of it too. Not as much as in the first book, but he's a part of it. And the actual investigation, I think, was really fun because it's like a mind puzzle. Asimov does a great job of sort of stringing you along and leaving you clues, logical clues, and sort of you kind of try to figure it out. And he gives you these problems, almost like math problems that you have to kind of figure out, like who did it, right? Like playing Clue or whatever. But it's fun because he's created his own rules about robots. There's the 3 laws. Oh gosh, what are they again? Robot has to do exactly what? No, robot can't harm a human. A robot has to do every single thing a human tells it to do, unless it causes them to harm a human, right? So there's another one. I always forget the last one. Oh, but yeah, so there's these laws he's created. And so Asimov, I'm not going to tell you how, like the spoiler, what the murder happened, who did it, whatever. But it's very fun because he gives you these laws and then you kind of figure out, oh, but maybe a robot could harm someone. And they found a loophole in these laws. And so he kind of strings you along and you sort of figure it out. And then he tells you the loophole. And then you're like, oh, duh, like people are stupid. Like, why didn't people figure this out kind of thing? I guess it is very hard to do that loophole, but it definitely exists. So I thought that was really fun. You kind of get smarter and learn as you go. It's like a puzzle. I said that already. So the murder mystery itself was really fun. And then the sci-fi aspects, it just made it that much better. So I love the book. It's exactly the type of book I love. Not huge character. I do love great characters, but that's not what I crave. This has good writing, a very fun murder mystery, and great sci-fi. And I love that. Great dialogue. Again, dialogue is king for me. That's why I love Dostoevsky and stuff. Like, it's just dialogue. If you read great dialogue, that's all I need. I don't need action. And there's really not much action in this book, just like the previous one, or like Foundation. And so that leads me to the next point. Not everyone's going to love this book, just like I said in the last review of Caves of Steel. If you are a reader that loves action sequences, battles, all this stuff, hanging on the edge of your seat, you probably won't like this book. There's not a lot of that. It's mostly dialogue and like inner thinking or monologues or whatever. That's my jam, 100%. So I love this book, but not everyone will. I get it. That's fine. So, so that's the big takeaway why someone would not like it. The other thing is, like, what kept this from a perfect score for me is, again, partly related to his character work, but it has to do with, like, the one female character in this book. No, there's actually at least 2. There might be 3. But there's only one that he wrote really, really bad. And it's one of the main female characters. It's the murdered victim. It's his wife. Is like one of the main characters. Her name is Gladia. I don't know how Gladia in my mind. And so Asimov, he did better than the last book, writing the female characters. Well, characters in general, but specifically female. So, like, she has some depth. She's got motivations. And, so that's great. He did better, but there's, like, part of it where you're like, really, dude? One of the main driving forces or motivations of some of the actions that Gladia takes in this book. Again, I'm not going to like spoil stuff for you yet, but it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of like something like middle school boys would think of, like, I don't know, like they're talking to each other, like riffing off each other and like in gym class, like in the locker room, like, hey, like here's a weird idea about like this. I should tell you what. Okay, so like we talked about earlier, people are in viewing, right? They don't see each other in person. Maybe you can see where I'm going with this. So she's married to her husband, right? Okay, well, in this world, there's very little human contact because whatever reason. Well, she's a rebel in this sense, where she craves physical contact, but that doesn't happen between married people, even in this world, or at least very seldom does it happen. And but she's a rebel, right? She's she craves that male contact. But yeah, you see where I'm going with this. So it's a weird. Again, there's a million other motivations that could have been given to Gladia that wouldn't have been as weird or awkward. And it's, I mean, I'll even say this: it's understandable. Like I understand that motivation, but like the way when Asimov, he's not a great character writer, and he should know that by now. Like, why would you choose something so weird and borderline creepy if you know you're not going to be able to pull it off? And not only not pull it off, but it's going to be like super cringy. Why? Why do you need to do that? I don't know. So I could not give it a perfect score because there were times where I just shake my head. I'm just laughing, like, what in the F did I just, the heck? That had no place in this book. Like, it just didn't make sense. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't think so, though. It was weird. Super weird. So, I mean, it's not like, like you know, he doesn't go into details or whatever. It's just like, the idea of it is just kind of like, why? Asimov's a smart dude. So I don't know why he thought it was necessary to make it. Anyway, we talked about that enough. So otherwise, it's a great book, right? I think it's definitely like, don't make that a reason not to read this book because it's not like a huge part of it, but it's there. But yeah, I love the book. I love robots and I love the robot series and I love Asimov's like prophetic thinking, his sort of philosophical thinking, and definitely his technological thinking. And he's a good writer and he's a very smart guy. And so one of my rules of rating again is if you go into the book smarter than coming out, then that's a successful book. So that definitely happened in this book. And it's a fun book. It's like knowledge hidden within a fun mystery sci-fi. That's awesome. And that's exactly what the series is so far. I thought, you know, in the previous book, there was like this sort of overarching plot where trying to get humans to leave Earth and colonize space. There's like sort of that movement, underground movement, people behind the scenes pulling strings to make that happen. And I thought that was going to get expounded upon in this book, and it really didn't. Very lightly it did. So I hope in the next third book that gets explored more, and that's a bigger part of it, because I think that's super interesting, that whole idea. If you want to know more about that, watch my last video on the Caves of Steel. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. I don't know when I'm going to finish this series to get the third one, hopefully soon, but I'm already buried in TBR books. I got some cool King Arthur books again, which I'm like just diving in. I love King Arthur now. I don't know why. Well, it's because of the Pendragon cycle. And now it's sort of sparked an interest, and I can't stop researching it and get my hands on all things King Arthur. And so I'm going back to that and some more culture series stuff. But stay tuned, man. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming out to you guys. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your night.